My husband had been away for weeks again, another business trip, another quiet house with only my own thoughts echoing off the walls. I wasn't surprised anymore. His absence had become part of the routine, like the morning coffee or evening silence. What did surprise me, though, was when my car wouldn't start one afternoon as I was heading to the grocery store. I tried calling a mechanic but none were available quickly. On impulse, I texted my nephew. I hadn't seen Liam in almost a year. He was my sister's son, only 21, working at a local garage, and had always been good with engines. Within an hour, he was at my door with his sleeves rolled up and that boyish grin that hadn't changed, but his frame had, taller, broader, more confident. I noticed, even if I didn't want to. We chatted while he worked. Catching up turned into laughing about childhood stories. He'd grown, not just in size but in his words. He spoke about life like someone older than his age, and I found myself listening more than I should have. When he mentioned he'd recently broken up with someone, I felt something strange stir in me, a mixture of sympathy and curiosity. He finished fixing the car by evening, and I offered him a soda before he left. It should have ended there, but it didn't. He started coming around more, saying he wanted to tune it further. I didn't say no. Each visit came with longer conversations, casual glances, and that quiet feeling of being noticed, something I hadn't felt in a long time. I didn't think much of it then. Or maybe I did. I told myself it was innocent. Family. But that didn't explain the way my heart started to race every time I heard his knock. It started becoming routine. He'd drop by after his shifts, always with some excuse. A rattle in the engine, a loose belt, a follow-up check. I knew the car was fine, but I didn't stop him. I started anticipating those knocks, fixing my hair before he arrived, putting on a bit of lipstick. It felt ridiculous, but I did it anyway. One evening, he showed up soaked from unexpected rain. I handed him a towel and we sat at the kitchen table, talking while he dried off. The conversation drifted to relationships. He said he was tired of shallow flings, that he craved something deeper. I listened, saying nothing, afraid of what I might reveal if I spoke too freely. There was a moment when he reached over to wipe something off my cheek, something imaginary, I think, and I froze. My pulse jumped, but I didn't move away. His hand lingered just a second too long, and when our eyes met, everything around us felt suddenly quiet. I laughed it off, made coffee to fill the silence, but something had cracked. That night, I lay in bed, thinking about him. The way he looked at me, not as a relative, but as a woman. I hated myself for noticing. The next day, I wore my favorite dress, one I hadn't touched in years. He didn't comment, but his eyes did. I started creating reasons to call him, small things that didn't need fixing. He always came. Our conversations became deeper, more personal. I found myself opening up about my marriage, the loneliness, the silence, the way I'd started to feel invisible. He listened, never judged. And when he spoke, I heard admiration in his tone, even desire. I knew we were walking a line, but neither of us pulled back. And I didn't want to. He stopped by late one evening, just to return a tool he'd borrowed. It was supposed to be quick. I offered him a drink, something to warm up, and he accepted. The conversation was light at first, but it shifted fast. He asked if I was happy, just like that. I tried to laugh it off, but the question hung there, heavy and honest. I told him the truth, without dressing it up. That I felt like a ghost in my own house, that my husband and I barely spoke unless necessary. He looked at me with this softness, not pity, just understanding. I felt it in my throat before I felt it in my chest. When I started to cry, he moved closer without hesitation. His arms were around me before I even realized, and I didn't push him away. It was comfort, but it was more than that. I could have pulled back, made it stop, but I didn't. When he kissed me, I kissed him back. It wasn't wild or impulsive, it was slow, deliberate, a decision made in silence. Everything after happened because we didn't resist it. I forgot about loyalty, promises, age, and reason. I just wanted to feel alive again. And in those moments, I did. The guilt hit instantly afterward. He fell asleep on the couch while I sat at the edge of my bed, staring at nothing. I replayed it over and over, unable to recognize myself in any of it. My body had betrayed my conscience. I didn't know what I was supposed to do next, confess. Pretend it didn't happen. My phone buzzed with a text from my husband, just a generic update about his flight. I stared at it like it was from a stranger. Everything had changed, and I couldn't undo any of it. I didn't return his calls for days. I needed distance, clarity, something to make sense of what we'd done. But the silence didn't bring peace, it made everything louder in my head. I couldn't eat without feeling sick, couldn't sleep without seeing his face. My husband returned, greeted me with the same mechanical warmth he always did. He didn't notice anything at first. Maybe he never really looked to begin with. But I was different now. I flinched at his touch, avoided eye contact, kept conversations short. Guilt seeped into every interaction like poison I couldn't flush out. Liam showed up one afternoon unannounced. He looked anxious, like he wasn't sure if he should have come. We talked on the porch, both of us trying to find the right words. He said he wasn't sorry for what happened, but he wasn't expecting anything either. I told him I didn't know how to feel. That I regretted the betrayal, but not the way he made me feel, seen, desired, real. We agreed to keep it between us. Not because it was right, but because dragging it into the open would destroy too much. He said goodbye and walked away without looking back. I stood there until I couldn't see him anymore. The weeks that followed were a blur of routine and avoidance. My husband sensed something was off. He asked once if I was okay, and I lied easily.